This video is sponsored by Skillshare. More on that later. All right, today we're finally gonna do multiple things. We're gonna change these levers out and finally get the black matched with the black and not the black with the chrome. We're also gonna put the side panels back on the bike. We already got the rear fender on. We're gonna put the front fender on. We're also gonna put the tank on and we're gonna roll this bike out. It's been a long time coming, but it's time to show everything put together. I finally got the signals on the right way. The right one was fine, but the original left one, it was messed up, kind of cracked and everything. So what I ended up doing, I took it apart and I soldered the ones that I got from Jameson. We ended up getting a very polished front look. Lube it up. Black on black, baby. You guys don't understand how much I love this color. Panel number 2. Let's go get the fender. Oh yeah, that is beautiful. Now we getting somewhere, baby. Yes, yes, yes. Look at that. And it's still freaking dirty. I gotta go back and polish everything. Oh my God. Here we go. Oh, baby. Ooh, it looks so good. Oh, man. Let me know down below what y'all think about this paint job. Now, let me be clear, there's still more work to do. I still gotta fix some cables. I gotta get the exhaust on the bike. I gotta get some gas caps and mirrors. I got a lot of this stuff still on order and it's on the way, but this bike looked so much worse when we got it and it looks so much better now that we have it. Let me know down below what y'all think about this paint job. And if you haven't, hit that like button to run. Let's run this thing up, man. This is the best this bike has looked since this series. Let's run it up. This line's connected. This one fuel line. This on. GPS. So the GPS snaps in the back of this, and then this sits in here like I am super proud of what this bike has become over the course of these last few months. And if you didn't know, at the end of this series, I'm going to be giving this bike away in all of its glory to one supporter of the channel. So if you want to get in on that and get entered, you can head over to BrandonBicasso.com and get entered to win. The entries are limited, but the more I work on this bike, the more I see it all put together. It's getting so much more harder for me to part ways with it, but it's happening. So next up, it's time to get this thing out in the sunlight and get it polished. So let's do that. Time management is something that doesn't get talked about enough when working on motorcycles, because the majority of us, we just want to ride and not wrench on motorcycles. But since I started this project with Chief, you know, combined with everyday life like work and family, for me cooking and then coming home to try to work on this bike and then film for YouTube, time can get away from you. But that's where our video sponsor for today, Skillshare, comes in. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of courses from productivity, business, automotive design, motorcycles, lifestyle management, and a bunch of other different things. So essentially, there's something for everybody. And since I'm personally struggling with time management and being more effective at the times that I'm trying to be productive, I've been watching a course by Thomas Frank called Real Productivity. And it goes over how to build habits that last, which in turn makes us more effective in the things we do, and that leads to more meaningful change. Because why work on time management if I have terrible habits to begin with, right? But next up on my list is watching this course on internal combustion engines and learning more on what makes an internal combustion engine tick. And in this case also, motorcycles. What makes them tick? We're going to learn this, folks. And being that I'm a member of Skillshare, the first 1,000 of you that join this community along with me will get a 1-month free trial to their entire catalog, so you can pretty much watch everything. So yeah, if you're interested in learning, like me, I'm always looking to learn more and just make my brain thicker and full of information, you can use the link down in the description to get started. So of course, thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. As I said before, we have drag specialty shocks on Chief. Now these are made for Harleys, but they fit on Chief. But the problem is the spring rate is too soft. So when you get on the bike, what ends up happening is that you're bottoming out the suspension almost instantly. And what happens is the tire ends up rubbing on the bottom of this fender. This is actually some of the adhesive from the little reflector that sits right here. You can see just how bouncy this kind of is. And when you sit on the bike, it sits really low. This right here is one of the original springs that came off of Chief on the right side of the bike. So remember, the shock on the left side was actually bent. And the theory was that the damper inside of the spring was bent and not the spring itself. And here's the spring that was bent on the left side. So we got spring on the right, spring on the left. Don't roll away, don't roll away. So what exactly happened? Well, we found out that, again, the damper inside of that spring was actually bent. Long story short, I was able to take that damper out of that spring, save both springs, and we're gonna put those springs on the drag specialty shock, and that's gonna give us a better spring rate. So we shouldn't have no issues bottoming out when we ride the bike. So we're gonna put that on there like that, and it's going to fit. And it's going to give us a better spring rate, so there's no more bouncy. With that explanation, I can say I have done some polishing already. I polished the engine cover and the air filter. I polished the front forks, but today we're going to polish the tank, the front fender, and the rear fender, and the side covers. I'm not going to ceramic coat because the bike's going to be in the garage mostly, so I'm just going to paint correct, polish, and maybe do a little bit of waxing. So let's get started. All right, my polisher, Harbor Freight. Cutting compound, McGuire's. Polish, also McGuire's. Why do I use McGuire's over anybody else? It's what I started with, and it just works. Foam pads, Amazon. Anything you see me using, check the video description for a link. Check it out. I'm not gonna wash the bike. I'm just gonna use this quick detailer, clean the surface. I'm gonna use that clay bar right there. We're gonna get the defects out of the paint, and then we're gonna start compounding. So it's smooth to the touch now. Now we're gonna get this orange cutting disc. We're gonna get this compound to get this started. All right, folks, after about an hour and a half, I got everything paint corrected, and I got everything polished, and now we're gonna go ahead and put the wax on. Just like everything else, we're gonna be using McGuire's. I love this stuff, man. It smells nice and it makes this stuff feel even more like glass. But again, the reason I use this is because this is what I started using. All right, Rick, come on. All right, bike is paint corrected. Where the little nicks I put on here. We polished it and we just waxed it. So now I'm gonna pull it out into the light and show you guys what the paint job looks like now. Getting this thing polished and waxed and paint corrected was a lot of work, but as you guys can see, the effort is always being put in to make this thing look better. So we're not out of the woods yet. We still got to get a few things situated, like the exhaust, the suspension, get the rock man hooked up, got new gas caps on the way. We still got to get mirrors on the bike. Then the next step will be getting the bike certified and we can legally ride it on the street. So yeah, this bike, compared to where we started and where we are now, it is a brand new bike. It's amazing what this bike looks like and how far it has come. And I'm really excited to go ahead and get it finished and of course start making even more content with this bike before we give it away to somebody that's special, someone that's going to get this bike. It's getting so much more harder for me to work on this bike because I know I have to give it up at the very end, but I'm very grateful to be in the position to be able to not only do this, but to be able to have the skill set to, or at least a growing skill set to work on bikes like this. So if you're new here and you want to catch up on the series and find out how we even got to this point or why we're doing this stuff like this in the first place, you can click this playlist right here on the screen and start from the very beginning. And also don't forget, we are giving away this bike at the end of this series to one lucky person. So head over to BrandonBicasso.com by clicking this link right here on the screen and get entered. The odds are really good, and of course they are limited. So as always, thanks for listening and thanks for watching and thanks for listening to my story. And if you're subscribed, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.